Again, I don't want Big Pharma to come after me. People get killed when you mess with Big Pharma, or they kill people from Big Pharma. And I don't want to be that guy. I'll stick to betting. I got enough problems with Taylor Swift fans.
Mayo experience.
Mayo experience. Mayo experience. Mayo experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by Underdog. Offseason NFL content is here, so you, good people, you smash the like, you sub to the channel, and I'm giving away some golf gear as well. If you tell me who wins the Masters, you know what? This is a football show. You tell me who wins the Super Bowl next year in the comment section on YouTube, Spotify, or a review on Apple Podcasts. You'll get put into a draw for a free year over at fantasynational.com. Net value, $250. So why wouldn't you do it? It takes you 3 seconds. Thanks for doing it in sub while you're here. Code Mayo at Underdog as well to get yourself a gigantic deposit up to $1,000. Rob Pizzola is back from Mexico with the biggest tan I've ever seen.
Yeah, you might. Some might call it a burn. Yeah, no, it's. I'm back. I enjoyed a lot of time in the sun, as I like to do when I go away from vacation, and it's kind of a little depressing to be home. Honestly, I couldn't even get in my driveway when I got home. I didn't realize how much it had snowed. Like I thought people were exaggerating the amount of snowfall. I wasn't really checking. It was nuts.
We had more snow in the last week than we've had in like the last 5 years. It's documented. Like I literally shoveled 5 times. I finally got a couple days off and I'm out there fucking shoveling. Then I'm like, I'm not doing this shit anymore. Then it turns to ice. Then you got to get one of those things where you smash in the eye. And I'm like, you know what? My neighbors hate me because they're always on top of it. But then again, when you're retired, you got a lot more time. Yeah. So I'm just saying, you know what? You guys, the guy, my neighbor, help me out and I'm going to get him an Amazon card or something because I'm so fucking sick of shoveling snow. I got to get the hell out of here. I'm done.
It's tough.
We just have ice. We don't really have snow. It's just ice. We had an ice storm. You don't see that outside the movies.
It snowed so much, it's higher than the townhomes. Ask Rob. They don't even know where to put it. Like there's nowhere else to put it.
There's not enough space between most of these homes that, I mean, I don't know about you, Cam, but like backing out of my driveway, you can't see shit. There's just snow everywhere. It's a disaster. But I got home and the driver dropped me off in front of the house. And I'm like, I don't even know how I'm going to get in my, like the snow is as high as my head. I had to walk like through the neighbor's yard to get to some semblance of like knee-high snow, which was a disaster. I don't want to deal with that.
I've never seen the Filipino guy like frown. He's like, I should have stayed in Manila for 5 more days. I go, yeah, you're damn right you should have. You can't, like the guy literally came back just like you, Pizzola. Wrong place, wrong time. Like I saw tears in his eyes. No more Rod Stewart karaoke. I love you, honey. He was like shoveling all week long.
I am taking off for warmer climates tomorrow morning, so I will still be doing my show on Monday, but I have the rest of the week already planned out, including Cam, a best of Pat, Rob, and Cam dropping next Thursday.
Sounds amazing. You guys are getting things done, and I'm going to the hospital, so a guy ices my balls, puts a needle in my dick, and sees if I got cancer. But you know what? The good news, I don't have anything right now, so that is the gold pick forever. So, yeah, it was Pat, you wouldn't believe this thing. So I'm sitting there, and they put you up, and then they're like, put up your legs. So I'm basically in a position like a woman giving birth, and then next thing you know, this thing's in. And the craziest thing is I'm sitting there, and there's a TV. It shows, he goes, you can either close your, I go, you know what? I've gone this far. Let's watch what happens here. So it was basically like a Doctor Who video of like my bladder and all that stuff. And it was like an acid trip, bro. I'm like, what the hell is going, like, imagine that, Rob, like inside with the camera. That's going, like all the stuff. I was just like, man, this is the craziest procedure I've ever had, but wasn't as bad as I thought. It's uncomfortable, but it didn't hurt. Like when somebody says they're going to, go down there and do some things to it, you get very nervous, but get it done. If you guys have a bladder problem or things, I would suggest, take care of the issue because it could get worse.
I'm surprised you chose to watch the entire thing. I
am too.
Personally do that. I would have to look away.
Rob, it was one of those things. I usually close my eyes on airplanes, everything, but I go, you know what? It's already there. I'm already uncomfortable. So let's see what it looks like. It was pretty cool, actually. I wish I was on mushrooms, but that probably would have affected the procedure.
Yeah, you probably don't want to be on drugs when they're checking you.
I'm glad.
As I lunge at the doctor and put him in a death grip, and he gone.
I'm glad you're healthy because we need you at the live show June 7th at the Rec Room in Toronto. People want to see both you guys, and I hope you're going to be there.
Healthy is a strong word, Pat, but I made it. There's lots of work to be done, but thank you very much. Appreciate it. Yeah, we'll make it, Pat. I don't care if I'm half dead. You can roll me out like a weekend at Bernie's and like just cover me. We'll be there.
And I've negotiated you a downtown hotel room as like your rider, so you can stay the night.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh, that's very kind. There's nothing worse, Rob, when we get to those things and we get sauced and we either get home with a listener that we barely know. Like, you know what I mean? He could take me anywhere. You know how many rides I've accepted? Hey, big fan for 15 years. Like, are you going to take me down to the Credit River and like put a rock in the back of my head? Like, hey, man, you want to smoke? Like, you know what I mean? Or an Uber. And you know how hard it is. Like me and you were a little bit out of town. So Pat, that's you don't understand. That is huge. Like the Trivago commercial, man. That's fucking massive.
So I really wonder about the way your brain works. I've never once been at one of these meetups and thought like they're gonna.
One time I did. One time I did. I knew the other guys, but one time I was like, I fucked up. I stayed way too long. And this guy was kind of a listener, but I didn't really, you know what I mean, Rob? It's like the interrogation room. I didn't like some of the things, but I had to get home. I didn't at the time, like no Uber, you know what I mean? I'm just like, I turned out all right, but I don't know. You're right. I watch too many murder mysteries. I always think somebody's trying to kill me.
Well, June 7th, the Rec Room in Toronto. Tickets are going to go on sale very soon. I expect them to go pretty fast. So what you need to do to get first access to the tickets once they become available is sub to the free Mayo Media newsletter. That's down in the description right now, Mayo Media on Substack. And if you're a glorious person who subs to the free newsletter, then you will get first access to those tickets. We hope to see you there. It's going to be a great time. What I want to do for the off season, I want to do a couple of these shows. I want to keep talking about the NFL. It's weird now that it's out of my life, Cam, every single day. I'm now starting to miss it. This happens to me with golf during the swing season. Like, I get so burnt out by golf midway through August, talking about it every day. And then we're in the middle of October. It's like, oh yeah, the Shriners Children's Open. Let's have a chat. I haven't talked about golf in ages. That's how I'm feeling about football right now.
Pat, can't blame you. Difference between me and you. You have children, you have a wife, other things. I fill the void with Australian horse racing. So it's one of those things that I do after work now. It's just like I love gambling. It's just one of those things, right? Pizzola, like I have no forms. I have nothing. They run the other way, like the opposite way, water rolls in the toilet. It's fun. I actually enjoy it. Sometimes I win too. I hit a horse last night at 11-1, but Pat, you're right. I miss football too, but there's so many things to bet on, but I got to get you into the ponies. There's a race going off 2 minutes in the world somewhere.
You ever accidentally bet on one of those races and then you turn it on and it's like this sprint race? It's
quarter horse racing. You know how many times I've done that drunk, Rob? I'd say probably over 50 times. Like,
really, and I haven't even learned that happens.
No, because you got to check you got to check the distance of the race. I'm like, oh my God, it's a quarter horse race. But
you don't even get any excitement out of that. It's just like a quick sprint. You're like,
Ben Johnson.
I feel like, I didn't. I wanted my $20 wager to last a little bit longer than 4 seconds.
It's a good point. That's like the instant. Like, I don't know what the quickest drug in the world is, but it's quarter horse racing.
Do they still have any of the horse racing like betting booths in downtown Toronto?
The OTBs, they have a few.
There's by Rob's old area, right, Rob? And the thing is, they took the one out where I used to work at Shoeless. Remember, I worked the back room and gave people programs for the racing and stuff. That whole place, that facility shut down. No, Rob, a couple of them are shut down, but there's a few in Mississauga and out in Woodbridge. Wegs, I think, is still around, correct?
Wegs is still around. I haven't been there in at least a decade, but there's actual still OTBs in the city. Mm-hmm. Like, what's Drake's
Greenwood
music venue, History? Like right next door to there, that's on the East End. They have an OTB. It's jammed every single time I walk by there or go to a concert there. There's got to be a bunch of them in the city still.
Oh, if you want to get Rob, Pat, or get Debbie, go to Greenwood. You're literally like honestly.
When I moved to Toronto, I lived at Greenwood Station. There was a crack house immediately across the street from the station.
Dude, I go to Greenwood because the Shoeless Joe's one's gone. I can't go there like stone. I have to have my head on a swivel. Like I'm walking in there. Every single guy is like a human shark. They're waiting to rob you, steal your tickets. Like it's a fucking gong show there. Be very careful. Hey, great. Horses are there. Everything's cool, but a lot of shady characters, as Patrick will attest to. Not some of the best citizens in the world.
Well, you walk across the street and go like 1 block south, and they're like $3 million homes. It's kind of crazy.
I know. You're right. It's
That's the thing about Toronto. It's weird. Like it is. You take the wrong right turn. You're like, where the hell am I? I need to be out of here quickly. It's crazy how we can go from really high end to low end and vice versa in the city.
Yeah, even where I am, Pizzola, Mississauga now, like I go 2 lights down the other way at 5 and 10. Like I told you, I used to like walk home drunk from my buddy's place. He's on the other side. I wouldn't dare do that now. Like there's so many damn grifters like hanging out by the creek and the bus shelters and stuff like that. And I'm literally a 5-minute walk away from there. It's like what they talk about, North St. Louis, South St. Louis. Like that's the thing. Like west of Highway 10 and east of Highway 10, right? You want to be west.
We were chatting briefly before the show about logistics in terms of traveling. So, I mean, we're doing more of a podcast today, and we'll get to our NFL stuff, obviously. I had 21 questions. I don't think we're going to get to all 21. We can make that a part 2 about what's going to happen for next NFL season during the offseason. But you guys just kind of sit back and let the girlfriend, let the wife book everything. I am the exact opposite. I am in control of where we're going, the flights, the transportation to and from the resort to make sure that everything is good. My wife wants nothing to do with this. However, I always leave it on her to like plan things for us to do once we get there, which is always just nothing.
I learned something along. First of all, Pat, my girlfriend, you'll meet her. She is exactly the same as you, but she parties harder than you.
Yes,
she loves when you talk about points. She's already got like the Mayo thing. You're like, oh, I did this on points, and she's working so many fucking angles. She's a protractor. Like and I go, you know what, honey? That's your game. I got enough problems betting this Missouri-Alabama college basketball game. You work on your angles. And you tell me what's going on. And another thing I like about trips and why I don't go with buddies anymore, and it's not to be rude. Our rule, we have one rule. Our plan is no plan. No excursions. If we feel like doing something, we'll do it. If we want to gamble, we'll do it. We want to go to, out of town and go see some sites, we'll do it. Like that's the whole thing. I hate going with people. They're like, we have to do this on this day and this excursion. Say I get wasted the night before. I'm really not in the mood. Right? That's why it's called a vacation. I want to do whatever the hell I want to do. That's my take, and I don't mean to offend anybody because that's why me and my buddies don't go as much anymore. So some of them are planners, great guys, but I don't want to be around planners when I'm on vacation. That's all.
It depends on the vacation. Like for me, for like a Caribbean, like Central American beach vacation, like just go to the resort, if you want to plan an excursion, you could do it while you're there. It's simple. But like if you're going to take like a 3-week trip in Europe or something like that, you might have specific things that are only happening on certain days. You look it up beforehand. It's like give or take. For me, like I love my wife. Like I'm not trying, but she's pickier than I am. Especially like post Super Bowl, I just want to get the hell away from the cold, go somewhere warm, give me a lounge chair by the pool, the beach, drink in hand. I'm fine. I will survive anywhere there. Whereas my wife might not necessarily want to do that. So I let her do the planning.
I like that, Pizzola. And know what, Pat? That's why, like, we're still, like, for all our flaws and everything like that, my woman has stayed with me at the El Cortez, at the Golden Gate when it had prison showers. Like, we've been at some low-grade hotels, and a lot of chicks would be like, when they smell dead bodies and weed, they'd be like, this is probably not good enough for me. But she's like, I don't give a shit. Just give me a drink and let's gamble. Like, so that's something we can attest to. We have gone higher end lately. When Blessing was alive, God rest his soul, used to get us deals at. And when I go to Vegas, I don't want to stay at like tourist casinos. I like the public ones, South Point, Suncoast, Rob, like with the nice restaurants in there and stuff. And
you ever do a Red Rock?
Red Rock once. And I'll tell you one thing: the people there gamble better because they're not some tourists in the middle of Midwestern United States going, "Hey man, should I hit a 13 against a 6?" No, you should not hit 13 against a 6. But I find, and the slots are looser because they have to keep the locals coming back.
South Point used to have, I think the VSiN studios used to be there. And I used to go there for shows when I was in Vegas. The casino floor there was always packed. Like relative to places do you hear about places on the strip now? They're like, we can't get people to come out. We can't well, I mean, maybe like start with the prices you're paying on blackjack and like, let's go back to like some real fair. And like, let's not make everything crazy expensive. South Point was always jammed. The casino floor, so many people playing. I think those places know how to do it right.
It's one of my favorite spots. Great call by you, Pizzola. And another thing too, Pat, those older casinos and stuff, like me used to do shows there with Blessing and Kenny White and all those guys. I remember back in the day with Boyd Gaming and stuff. They'd have bowling alleys there, movie theaters. It was like, it's just a cool little property. The buffets were great. I don't like the strip. It's too much bullshit. Like I like to go out where it is. And if you want to go down and party, if your buddies are down there, you meet them, but I'd rather stay in the local casinos. They treat you better.
We stayed at Circa when we went down for the Masters last year and did our shows from there. I believe that's where the VSiN studios are now. Rob, have you been to Circa?
Oh yeah, I stay at Circa probably like 80% of my trips to Vegas nowadays. Love Circa.
It's
I've
great.
never been.
I had never stayed up near like Fremont, and like that was a wild ride.
Fremont's the best. I never stay on the Strip. You got to go to Fremont.
You go out on Fremont, you're gonna see something new every single night. It's yeah. I mean, I've seen some stuff I've never seen anywhere else in the world on.
I told you, Pat, I lived in the El Cortez for like 2 months after I got let go by Sportsnet. It's like the low end of the other side of Fremont. Like, what an adventure that was. It was amazing. Like, literally, you make a couple $100s a day. And we're here for another couple. Like, we just kept on extending the trip. It was amazing. The cops came, Rob. Apparently, by law, you can't stay in the same room for 30 days. So they kicked it because you could be hustling drugs, memorabilia and that stuff. So they made us change rooms because they were like worried about us and stuff like that. Because we actually stayed over 30 days living at the El Cortez. Put that on my tombstone. That's pretty fucked up.
At least in your resume.
Yeah, at least. When was the last time we've done a resume? If I ever had to do a resume, I don't even know.
I don't know. Yeah,
I don't even know where it is. Like,
in a decade.
Like it's on my Commodore 64. I don't know. What's a resume? Like I don't even know.
Cam, I just emailed you you can give it to your girlfriend, a new points secret site that I found that tracks the lowest points from every city.
She will love it. We're working on, I need to go on a trip. Morency, he went to New Orleans for the Super Bowl stuff. I stayed here. My dad's out of the hospital, which is awesome. So a lot of good things are happening right now, but we're going on a cruise. I think I'm turning 50 in April. So I think we're deciding to do like the 5-day, 6-day. We're not sure if we go land in New Orleans and do like a Caribbean one or something like that. But yes, Pat, that would be very helpful. Thank you.
What day is your birthday?
April 4th.
April 4th. Oh, same as my buddy Watkins. Hey, you're almost, we almost have the same birthday. Me and Paul are 3 days apart as well. A lot of April birthdays around here.
I have a theory. So me and Cam and my best man at my wedding, Steve, who are, I don't want to call us all degenerate, but we like to gamble. Mm-hmm. We all are born on the same day of the same month. Like Cam is 0404. I'm December 12, 12. My buddy's 11. I think that unlocks something in the human brain where like you have like a number that you live your life. I don't know if this is the case for you, Cam, with 4, but for me, everything 12 for me. So like I walk by a roulette table, I cannot stop without playing like a 12. I have an actual addiction to doing stuff like that. I think people who are born on the same day in the same month, 4 like you, that lends itself to being gamblers. I bet you if you did a study on people in the world, people who are born on the same day, same month are, I don't want to say degenerates, but we like to throw it down. Let's put it that way.
Rob, I can't believe you said this. This is amazing. It's a breakthrough, and I'm the exact same way. Like, if I don't know a horse or whatever, I blindly bet the 4.
Yep.
That's what, like, you know what I mean? I look for 4 all the time. Number 4, Bobby Orr. Like, I'm just like, that's my number, right? So it's, yeah, you know what? It's actually crazy that you said that. The more I think, you know what? Can we run this in the fucking Sims? Let's do a study on this and find out what the hell's going on. Like, we can't get a cure for anything else, but I think Rob's onto something, Pat. I don't know what it is too. When you have the same thing, you tend to bet. Like, Rob, you bet those numbers blind. I guarantee
12.
Like,
everything 12 for me in life. Doesn't matter. If I don't know what I'm going to eat at a restaurant, 12. I go to like the 12th menu. It's an actual sickness.
I do the same thing. I can't believe you're fucked up like me. This is great. What a breakthrough.
We're going to like tune back into Rob 10 years from now. He's going to be like Jim Carrey in the number 23, and he's just going to be mad.
Oh, yeah. Yes, Pat, what's that movie? The Beautiful Mind. We're just like,
Beautiful Mind.
Yeah. There's just numbers there and parlay. And like, yeah, just big thought.
What's this guy been doing for the last couple of years? Cutting out newspaper clippings all over the walls.
Foil hat. Yeah, there we go.
Welcome to the TGL presented by SoFi, golf's newest league. It's sharp. It's electric. How sharp is it? How electric is it? Good questions. Try this on for size. 2 hours of hammer dropping overtime, forcing playoffs on the line, golf, with 24 of the best players from the PGA Tour, split into 6 teams: Atlanta, Boston, Jupiter, LA, New York, and the Bay Golf Club. This isn't your average Sunday pickup game. Tune in to TGL Monday or Tuesday night only on ESPN. Claim yourself a seat for the first season of TGL now. Keep up. It's golf. Okay, let's jump into NFL because I got a question for you guys. In fact, I have numerous questions. This one wasn't even on the list, but it just popped up on my timeline. So I wanted to get it from you guys to see what you think. The Rams want a first-round pick for Matthew Stafford. Rob, do you think he stays on the Rams or do you think he moves?
I don't think they're going to get a first-round pick for Matthew Stafford.
The Jets are a team in the NFL. You know that, right?
They are, but nowadays teams are so conscious of what they're, especially in the offseason, like there's a lot of options available to teams in the offseason that they're not necessarily going to pay up for a guy like Stafford. My gut would be that Stafford ends up staying with the Rams. I would say he's more likely to be with the Rams than not, but I could see if the Rams are willing to be like, okay, you know what, we'll drop the first round price tag, that there would be a lot of teams interested. Raiders,
should the Raiders actually be interested in Matthew Stafford at the high price tag with the draft capital? It's not like they're going to be good next year. Like what's the max for the Raiders next year? Like 9 wins if everything goes right?
Rob, what were you going to say? I'm not.
Well, teams don't always do what they should do. Like teams are run and I have a friend in the NFL front office now, and he kind of talks about like his day to day. Even when you should be losing as a franchise, like you shouldn't be trying to win, teams will still try to win because of ticket sales, merch sales, all sorts of other stuff where they're like, yeah, you know what?
Their own damn livelihood, getting more money.
Stuff like that. So I don't necessarily think it's a great argument to say like this team shouldn't do that, therefore they won't. How many times do we see NFL teams do the dumbest things? You're like, they traded for that person. Why? They should be tanking. They should be doing this. They should be doing that. Teams just don't follow that logic a lot of times.
I agree with you, but I do think that we're seeing an organizational shift with Vegas right now. And I think that if any team shouldn't be worried about being bad but still selling tickets, it's probably them because they probably get so many comps anyway that it's probably pre-sold out a lot of the times. But just bringing in Pete Carroll, Cam, what's he going to coach till he's 91 years old? Like this can't be any more than 3-4 years as the rebuilding process to fix the culture with Vegas and then let someone else come in.
He's pretty spry. And I got to be honest with you, like when you watch Pierce and some of these other guys coach, it's like it might even be an up. It's crazy. I know he's more of a raw guy, but that's what the Raiders need. I would not go after I think they need a total rebuild. But here's kind of what I'm thinking. And by the way, Pat, another excellent point is what team do you go to? They used to plan hockey trips around the Golden Knights. You plan football trips with your buddies around your team going to Vegas. Yep. That's the whole thing. So they don't have to worry. It's never a complete home game for those guys. But I just think they should draft a younger quarterback and figure it out from there. I guess some good news for that division is you saw Kansas City get their asses kicked in the Super Bowl. I know it's just one game, but they do have some players that are a little bit longer at the two. So I think that bodes well for the rest of the division with Denver and Geoff's Chargers.
I would agree, but it just taking a look at that division overall, and I don't think that Pete Carroll's a bad coach. I just don't know how much longevity he's going to have as his age, Rob.
Right.
I don't know.
He's
like Jack LaLanne, man. This guy he's like 20, 30 years younger than he's just one of those guys. Positive Pete, he is his age, right, Rob?
He's rolling out. He's doing play action passes in practice, throwing it downfield to his players. He thinks he's like 43 years old, Pete Carroll.
That's a good way to be, though. I'd rather be that than like crawling around out there. 100%. So it's working for him. You know?
During the season 4 years from now, he's going to be 78 years old.
Yeah.
I don't even think about him like that. I think about Pete Carroll's like 60-something.
I agree with you, but just the age starts to hit you once you start getting up near 80.
Yeah, I know. Pat, age hit me at 40 with the drinking and dumb things that I did when I was younger. So, now it's just a downhill climb. I'm not Pete Carroll. I should actually talk to that guy, see how he does it.
I mean, he's almost old enough to run for president, so maybe that's what he'll do next.
Well played. God, yeah, we're not going to get it. We're not getting into that shit show right now.
No.
Eggs are $6. Okay, thanks. Just tell me what's on the betting.
So where do you think that Stafford plays next year, Cam? Is it just with the Rams?
Yeah, I think he plays with the Rams too. No, it'd be an interesting fit though. What do you think about the Vikings?
Ooh, that's actually really interesting. I don't know why they would do that. Like if they are.
Well, what about McCarthy? Because they don't like McCarthy's still a guy that hasn't played an NFL game. I think he'll be okay. Sam Darnold proved that, You can't have this guy in your organization anymore. It's just there's too much negativity at the end of the year. It was a nice little story for a while, but I think with that team and the weapons they have, and they're close, so that would make sense. Stafford doesn't want to go to rebuilder. I get it. There's mathematics involved, but that's just a team when I thought, like, if, the puzzle pieces fit, it would make a little bit of sense, but it's probably not going to happen.
Well,
I think the Vikings are more likely to sign like another veteran that comes way cheaper.
Let's go to the next question. Question number 2 on the list. Who is Aaron Rodgers going to be playing for next year? Because the Vikings or Vegas is the logical fit.
How about a mushroom field? Cave? The caveman. I don't know. What else do we call him?
Yeah, you get Rodgers
LSD. I don't know, like whatever the fuck.
He's gonna play. He's gonna play.
He should play. He's one of the best 20 quarterbacks in football. Still, like if you're basically what the Steelers did with Russell Wilson this year because of that contract, any team can do with Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers is better than Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
How about
the most?
If they get rid of Stafford, what about Rams?
Well, that's possible. I think Rodgers is going to play for the Raiders. I think he's going to be the starting quarterback for the Las Vegas Raiders. I think that makes a lot of sense for him, playing indoors nowadays, doesn't have to deal with shittier surfaces or anything like that, obviously coming off this 2 years removed from the Achilles. I do think that Carroll would be a guy, especially at his age, that would say, yeah, let's take on a veteran quarterback. Let's see what we could do here type of thing. He knows he doesn't have, a decade with the team or anything like that. So I think the Steelers would be a good fit, but I don't think the Steelers as an organization will go the Rodgers route. I'll say Raiders for me.
Yeah, it is too. The guy's played in Green Bay. He just played in the Jets, like cold, like just somewhere like Vegas sounds. You know what I mean, Rob? It's just like you're an older guy. It's kind of like after a while, it's like fuck, man. It's Pittsburgh. We got to play like the Baltimore Ravens and minus what. You know what I mean? It's just like you reach a point where I know, like it doesn't matter. You grind wherever you go, but I think the destination is just easier on him, and he's on his way out pretty soon, and he'll do quite well after football, all the things he's going to be doing. But I just think, Rob, you know what, Raiders does make sense. I don't think the guy wants to play like in a cold weather team and get his ass kicked as much, but he still will get his ass kicked with the Raiders. It'll just be in a better environment, not as cold.
Plus, he's an ego guy. He's going to play Mahomes twice a year. He's going to play Herbert twice a year. Like he'll buy into stuff like that.
Good call.
Yeah, I do think Minnesota logically makes the most sense for him. Because then Minnesota doesn't have to invest a bunch of money to bring him in. They can still let J.J. McCarthy develop and give him a little bit more time. And then all of a sudden you can just run with J.J. McCarthy. At least give yourself another year of evaluation because he was hurt all year. You really have no idea. You have your pre-draft perception of what he can do. And maybe they're just like, no, he's awesome. We're just going to roll him out. That's probably what they end up doing. But at least you have a bit of a bridge, and then it doesn't hurt your ability to build around J.J. McCarthy for the future either, because you're not paying him $40 million to be your quarterback.
What do you guys think the 49ers do with Purdy?
They sign him.
Yeah.
They're probably going to sign him, but okay, you're the GM. What would you do? You think he's good enough?
Yeah. Well, the problem is it depends on the money. Yeah. It depends on the money.
It's good. Nowadays, it doesn't matter. If you're a quarterback and you're up for a contract, you're demanding like top 3 money in the league. That's just the way it's going to work. And either the 49ers have to choose to pay that or walk away from it. But it's a really bad sign to the entire fan base if you just let that guy walk. It's all these teams pay their quarterbacks. That's just the way it works. So they're going to overpay him, I think, without a doubt. But I think they'll pay him.
I think it's a fine signing. Even if he gets like right around the Baker deal is what I would probably give Purdy. Like I probably wouldn't give him.
I think Baker Mayfield's better than Purdy.
I agree, but Baker signed a team-friendly contract because it was just after the 1 year. Like that's a good deal for the team. I think Baker's better than Purdy, but if Purdy got that money, that would probably be good for him. He'll ask for more. Maybe they end up paying him more. But that would be interesting if it's just like, you know what, we're not going to give you like think about if Miami had just let Tua played itself out. Like that contract is going to be so bad moving forward, because just Tua's not that good that Rodgers could have just signed with Miami right now and they'd be in a much better spot.
I think I pretty much think if they sign Purdy, their window is closed for the Super Bowl because he's gonna be paid like $55 million. He's gonna be up there with all. I mean, I know this is a Cowboys fan with Dak Prescott 60. You can't build teams. The Eagles were the first team this year with Jalen Hurts that really was able to build or have a team around a $50 million quarterback. Because
they drafted their asses off. Their guy like Carter was a steal. Like all these other guys. You're right, Rob. You can't do it. Look at the teams that went to the Super Bowl. When 49ers went deep, Purdy rookie deal. Seahawks, Russell Wilson, rookie deal. Rookie deal is the key to get all the other parts. And the problem is the 49ers' good parts are all old. And a lot of them are talking about bolting. So yeah, they got problems, man. The Rams, on the other hand, have drafted like fucking mavens. These guys look fantastic. Seattle will get a little bit better. Yeah, the 49ers, like they got big problems, man. That organization's in trouble.
Well, Jeff did his very official scientific fan base power rankings on Tuesday. Check it out on the network if it's up there. How fans feel about their team going into next year. And he had San Francisco, I think, on the bottom tier, the second bottom tier. I wouldn't be that down on San Francisco. I think they're going to be fine for at least another year. Like, you have to remember, they just had the season from hell. What have they been to?
Yeah, for sure.
2 Super Bowls and 4 NFC championship games in 6 years. Like, that organization is still very good. Even if they're going to trade Debo, they'll get something for him, even if it's nothing. It's not like he was doing anything anyway. He was terrible last year.
Yeah, I mean, they brought in Robert Saleh now to be their DC again, who I think is a very good defensive coordinator, but not a good head coach. And like last year, they were disastrous on defense. There's reasons to be optimistic about them, but as soon as you pay Purdy $50 million, like all the 49ers cap space is gone. Like you cannot, you no longer can bolster other parts of your team. So you're basically going in with a very similar roster. Is that good enough in the NFC? I mean, it can be. Don't get me wrong, but like I think it's going to be extremely challenging once they decide to pay. I don't think they have a better option. Don't get me wrong. Like this is just the NFL nowadays. Like what are they going to do? They have talent elsewhere. It's not like they could just let the quarterback go and find an alternative. The quarterbacks aren't growing on trees or anything like that. So it's a challenge for them. But it to me, it just like really, really reduces their window to win a Super Bowl.
Well, doesn't that happen with Stafford and the Rams too, though? Like you get rid of Stafford, even if you get a second round pick. What do you bring in, Jimmy G, and see how it works?
The thing about the Rams is they have so many young stars on the defensive end of the ball. They still got there's a lot of things to like. Like the Rams, to me, Pat, are going in a totally opposite direction of the 49ers. And I would say this, the 49ers' strength used to be their D. They got shredded. They got fucking pummeled last year. The Rams got like Cam Kurt, like Rob, see their draft? How many guys start? They did a great job.
That saved them. That saved them because think about what the Rams did for years. They were giving away all their top picks to bring in good players. And everyone's like, well, at the back end of this is all going to catch up to you. Yeah. Well, with the limited amount of draft picks the Rams have had, they've drafted really well. So they were able to kind of like bypass these years of being a bottom feeder because they drafted really well. And I mean, I don't know that's a great strategy for a lot of teams of just like, let's unload all of our draft picks to bring guys in. But it seems to have been okay for them, although they're kind of like stuck in the middle ground now. Well, you know what I'm saying?
And I think that, yes, they have great young players on the defensive side of the ball, but the one thing that we've seen year over year is that defense isn't sticky. They could go to being a bad defense next year.
100%.
It's offense 100%. That is sticky.
Yes, 100%.
Like that's what we saw, because I saw someone mentioning the Browns to me and be like, oh, well, the Browns will be fine if they the dead cap on Watson will be gone. They can bring in like a game manager quarterback. And, you forget they won 15 or 11 games 2 years ago with Joe Flacco. It's like, yeah, their defense was dominant. You know what it wasn't last year? Good.
Exactly. Well, I mean, look at the teams that were expected to be great defenses going into the year, the last year, like Cleveland, the Jets, 49ers. Like you're right, Pat. I think people overrate the stickiness of defense. They think, well, his defense was great this year. I mean, lots of times it's schedule driven, who your opponents have been, opposing quarterback, stuff like 100%, like the luck and turnovers and stuff like that.
Come see the Titans.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Fucking Titans. That team didn't exist, God. I'd be going on a trip with you, Pat.
But like, look at the top two defenses in the NFL EPA per play this year were Denver and Minnesota. People thought Denver was going to be like a bottom 5 defense going into the year. Minnesota is coming off a dreadful year at defense. Florida's just as a great defensive coordinator.
Denver's secondary rocks, though. They have fucking like superior players.
Sure, but the only reason like they had those same guys the year before and they weren't any good, they were able to find a pass rush and their new scheme worked. Like, and even year over year, that doesn't necessarily translate. Like with Minnesota, we've seen this 2 years in a row now. Like Minnesota's defense 2 years ago, the first year under Flores was great until like week 13, and then Something happened, and they couldn't stop anyone anymore. Like, I wouldn't bank on Minnesota's defense being, like, shut down next year. I think one of the biggest edges you can find, Rob, in, like, win totals and trying to project out things is try to find a team with a good offense that had, like, a bottom 10 defense and hope you get lucky that they just improve.
Yeah, Bengals.
Yeah.
Would be like an example of that, right?
Tampa was that 2 years ago.
Yeah. Can they get worse on defense? Probably not. Like if they might have the same defensive year, but like they're probably not getting worse than that. There's a few teams out of the bottom of the list. I mean, Dallas would probably be one of those teams as well. Maybe Jacksonville next year when Lawrence is healthy. Their defense was terrible this year, but I mean, there's nowhere to go but up with some of these teams. Arizona, possibly another one. Bad defense.
Well,
Maybe
Cam,
just get better.
This brings us to question number 4. Rob just hit on the key name. He said, the word of the day! It is Trevor Lawrence actually any good?
Yes.
Okay, why?
I think Trevor Lawrence is overrated.
Okay.
But I still think he's good.
Yeah. Well said.
I would rank him outside. Where would I put Trevor Lawrence?
Like, would
in
you
the quarterback
would,
rings?
Would you
12?
rather have Trevor Lawrence or Baker Mayfield as your starting quarterback?
Wow, what a question.
It's Baker. Baker's better.
I would pick Baker Mayfield as well through intangibles. Right, Rob? Right.
So, well, it's Baker. If it's Baker if it's for 1 year, it's Lawrence if I'm like building a franchise. I guess.
It's not like he's like 21 years old here, and it's not like Baker's super old either.
What are the ages on them? Let's out of curiosity.
So
I think Baker's only a couple years older than him.
Trevor Lawrence is 25.
Let me ask you this then, Rob. Would you rather, right now, for your franchise moving forward, would you rather have Trevor Lawrence or would you rather have like Caleb Williams or Drake May and like gamble on these second-year guys?
I would gamble on the second-year guys.
So I think that's indicative of where the actual Trevor Lawrence rating is.
Is Geno Smith better than Trevor Lawrence?
Like in a 1-year vacuum? No, probably not.
I think he is.
Geno's like the epitome of the 17th best quarterback.
I don't know. Trevor Lawrence is lingering around that number now too, the way he's been playing. But he's okay.
Geno should be traded to Vegas. He would prosper in Vegas.
I don't know, man. I have one prayer that Geno Smith does well. Like I just think he's a better quarterback than people think.
He is, but he is the problem with Seattle being stuck in the middle right now. Like Seattle can't be like bottoming out and finding the future because Geno Smith's slightly too good, but Geno Smith is not good enough to actually do anything.
I think every quarterback in the history of football is a product of the environment that they have ended up in. Like if Tom Brady was drafted by another team, there's a very realistic shot. We're not even talking about Tom Brady. I agree. Right. And to me, Trevor Lawrence, that entire coaching staff, like the Doug Peterson, Press Taylor, they're reversing who's calling plays every other week. They got like Jim Bob Cooter as their passing quarterback. Like I think he's a good quarterback in a really bad spot is what I would say. And when I say good, I'm talking like, depends how we define good. He's not like a top 5 guy. He's above average. Like he's a slightly above average guy, but he's 25 and a quarterback who's operated, in my opinion, in some like really bad offenses for a long time, bad schemes, stuff like that. So I think
their weapons suck, right, Rob? Like if we really think about it, like so until they drafted, like look at the receivers, like the running game, meh. You know, they fumble the ball. Like Ingram's a decent tight end. I get. Like I'm looking at right. Like look at Jacksonville. Like they got bad parts. It's like
if Brian Thomas didn't develop, they would have like
nothing.
Christian Kirk and Gabe Davis as like their top 2. You know, I think he's a product of the environment. I'm not like a Trevor Lawrence stan. Like at some point you got to stop making excuses for the guy, and he's got to play. And he's 25 now. He's not like he's just in the season, been in the league 1 year. But I don't think he's been put in the best positions as a QB. How
many years of excuses and coordinator problems does he get to have? Because obviously he had the Urban Meyer, now he had Doug Peterson. Like eventually, does it fall on him for just not living up to expectations?
I feel like Lawrence is a guy that eventually will just go to another team and it will just click.
That makes sense.
That's my
what
thoughts.
Team?
Niners?
Who knows?
Well, who's the best fit for Trevor Lawrence?
Anyone with a good offensive coordinator. He just needs to find a good offensive coordinator.
That's a great call.
The Niners, see if you can get Lawrence, like trade your 2 first-round picks or first round pick and Brock Purdy from something else and see if you can try to pry away Trevor Lawrence. Because Trevor Lawrence with Shanahan, I think actually makes a lot of sense.
Sure. And it's the same like if Stafford, the Rams ever got rid of Stafford, like imagine Lawrence with McVay. McVay's a great offensive scheming head coach. Like, like to me, I don't think Jordan Love is a good quarterback. People roast me all the time for that. I don't think he's very good. I think his mechanics suck. I think he misses wide open receivers all the time.
You're right, Rob.
I think his head coach is fucking fantastic. Like he turned Malik Willis into like a serviceable QB. I think a lot of times it's just the product of the environment. I think if you flip Trevor Lawrence and Jordan Love, we would talk about Trevor Lawrence like we talk about Jordan Love now. And we would talk about Jordan Love like we talk about Trevor Lawrence now. And so to me, I mean, it's a little bit of a cop-out because you are where you are. And the best quarterbacks can like rise above that. But Lawrence is not one of the best quarterbacks. He's not going to be a guy that's going to completely carry the team.
Cam,
yes?
Who will Sam Darnold be playing for in 2025?
Sam Darnold. How about the Pittsburgh Steelers?
On the
I'm going to say with you.
I'm going to say
I have no fucking clue. You know what? Saints actually, you know what? That's a good, I think I have this, like you gave me the questionnaire. I think I had Saints. Yeah, I had Saints in the 2-hole after the Steelers. Well, I don't even know why I put Steelers. Doesn't really make any sense.
I think it makes sense because it has to be someone with a quarterback. What about this, Rob? Is there a chance that Darnold's not a starter next year?
Mm-hmm. Yes, there is.
Big time.
I have a very unpopular opinion. I think Darnold is going to end up back with the Vikings and maybe not in the starter role as well. I think that his market completely tanked at the end of the year. There are not a lot of teams that are going to want to commit to him as being a starter moving forwards, which I think he's going to look for. And I think he might just end up back in Minnesota for another year where they just convince him to come back and be like, hey, listen, we don't know what we got in JJ McCarthy. We're going to give him a short leash. We'll let him start the year. But if he's not that, you're back in there. Like this is your opportunity type of thing. I don't think a lot of these other teams really make sense for him that are looking for quarterbacks right now. The one that would make the most sense to me would be the Jets, but I can't see the Jets going back to Darnold because of the history there as well. So I don't know. I actually think when all is said and done, the market on Darnold is much, much smaller than most people think it is. I think he will end up re-signing with the Vikings.
I could see him with the Browns too, on like a 1-year deal, almost like he just signed this year. Because I think he needs to be with a good coordinator. We've seen him without good coordinators, and it's not been good. They need to harness what he does well. Harness in the good energy, block out the bad. Harness energy, block bad. That's what Sam Darnold needs, and I think Stefanski would be the one to do that.
That's what I need. But I'll tell you, the Browns are a great call by you because the rest of their quarterbacks watching DTR and those guys plays fucking takes years off your life.
The Browns are they made the worst trade in probably the history of sports with the Deshaun Watson deal.
That's a good show. That's a good show we can do, by the way. The 5 worst deals, the 5 worst trades in the history of sports. It still has to be the Cowboys trade with the Vikings.
The Herschel Walker.
The Herschel Walker.
Yeah.
I mean,
the Ricky Williams trade wasn't so good either, especially knowing what we know about running backs now.
Well, I mean, like, and then if you're NBA now, like this Doncic trade is going to go down as one. I mean, when all is said and done, it's going to be one of the worst, right?
Doncic is my drinking partner in beer pong. He's a big boy.
He is
dude. The guy's wearing like male Spanx now. Like it's just like, dude, he's a big boy. Like,
dude, him showing up to the All-Star game and seeing Victor Wembanyama bringing books into the locker room. That's one of my favorite clips.
Oh well, how about this? Cuss just texted this to me. And it actually coincides perfectly with the next question, which was the Titans will draft blank with the first overall pick. And there's reports right now from Brett Hoffman on X, formerly known as Twitter. The Jets have contacted the Titans, Rob, to discuss the number 1 pick to get Cam Ward. The potential trade package would be the Jets' first-round pick and second-round pick and first-round pick and second-round pick next year. I would take that if I was the Titans.
I don't have like in front of me like the chart or anything like that in terms of the value of what each of the and most teams are going off of that chart nowadays, and then whether or not the teams are willing to overspend to get that. So I don't know off the top of my head. I do think that the Titans are a team that can definitely explore trading if they don't love Cam Ward, they could easily explore trading down. Obviously, there's other quarterbacks that would be available near the top of the draft as well. They could choose not to go quarterback and go like just a dynamic player like Travis Hunter or something like that. So Titans, I could see being a team that would potentially trade down the first pick. But I think if they do draft it, they'll take Cam Ward.
I think so too, Cam. But I think if I'm Tennessee, like the Jets have the 7th pick right now, that go get your stud offensive lineman, stud defensive lineman, spend this year building up your lines, as we just kind of saw that the Eagles were able to do, and then sign Sam Darnold to a 1-year contract or something, or let Levis roll out there again, maybe get the number 1 pick again next year, and you have the Jets 1st and 2nd this year and next year too. I mean, how good are the Jets going to be with Cam Ward?
I wish this would happen, Pat, because if Will Levis starts for Tennessee, then I know I won't bet them next year, and I'll just put a line through him at the start of the year.
You say that now.
You're right.
Cut the clip, Shag. Cut this clip. Mark this.
Tennessee's like, I just got out of the AA meeting, and Rob and you were sitting at the bar. Hey, friend, hear about this new bar? They're giving you your first drink free. And I'm like, starting to sweat. Come on, pal, you can do it. Just a few. Next thing you know, 13 down. We're doing Jaeger bombs, fucking Jameson shots. Here's the deal. I think, Pat, you said the smartest thing. I think Tennessee should just, accept the deal. If they get that deal, you take it. And you take Hunter from Colorado. There it is. And then you worry, and then you stockpile a team, and then you get a real quarterback. Fuck, maybe even get somebody. I don't know where Jackson Dart's going to go, but that's a guy I would take a shot on. That's my opinion.
Jackson Dart's the interesting one here because you have Vegas and the Jets at 6 and 7, and all of this kind of plays itself out. Like whatever.
Seattle is very interested in Dart, big time. Yeah,
they're at 18. If they want to take Dart, they'll probably quarterbacks will just unless it's that weird year with like Malik Willis and whoever the hell went and like quarterbacks just didn't go. And this draft class doesn't seem quite like that because it does seem like Ward and Sanders are valued by NFL teams. I have no idea how the next tier goes down. And it's clearly not as good of a class or as deep as we saw a year ago. I'll have Ray and Thor on to talk more about these QB prospects on the Pat Mayo Experience. So you please subscribe if you want more information on that. But someone will trade up, Rob. Like Jacksonville took Blake Bortles inside the top 10.
Yeah, I mean, like look at how high Bo Nix went and Michael Penix last year. They're like quarterback is just such a valuable position nowadays that unless you got like something going on behind the scenes, teams will move up to grab quarterbacks. It's just the nature of the game. So expecting these guys to fall and be like this great value pick nowadays, it just doesn't happen that much anymore because everybody recognizes how much more valuable the quarterback position is than anything else.
Like if Tennessee just commits to thinking, hey, we're not going to be good next year, Cam, they could be good in 2 years.
Yeah, just call me when they're good.
Well, the real problem with the Titans is like they've tried to draft O-line. Like they've drafted was it Skoronski a couple years ago? JC Latham was their draft pick last year. He sucked at tackle. Like they had the worst offensive line in football, and they're trying to draft offensive linemen. I
got a tip. Who's ever in the Tennessee draft room or whatever, these guys are fucking who are these guys? Like some of their draft picks are just awful. Awful.
Maybe
what are they doing?
Maybe as a part of this trade, they can get Brick Johnson in the trade to be their GM.
I don't know what it is about Tennessee. Like I'm a Seahawk fan, but I don't know what it is. Like these guys, like I'm cheering for them. Like I really want Tennessee to do well. I don't know why.
Dude, I mean, I'm looking at these first round picks.
Oh, it's a train wreck.
Latham, Skoronski, Treylon Burks was a first. Caleb Farley.
Yeah,
Treylon Burks is who they drafted with the pick they got from the Eagles when they traded AJ Brown.
Yeah, they traded AJ Brown.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, yes. For the first round pick, and they picked Treylon Burks with that pick. Wow.
What were the?
I'm looking at this.
Who are the other receivers who went after Treylon Burks? I feel like there was like 2 or 3 awesome ones.
That would be I think that's the 2022 draft.
So that's not the Jefferson year.
Christian Watson went at the beginning of the second round that year. Wan'Dale Robinson, John Mechie.
So not a great year then.
George Pickens, I guess. It wasn't the great, like there wasn't a lot of these guys afterwards. Sky Moore has been a bust so far. Velus Jones Jr. There wasn't a lot of good receivers that went after Treylon Burks.
I won a bunch of money on Velus Jones Jr. this year when no one knew who was going to start at Carolina running back. They're like, oh, it'll be this loser who sucks. Like, no, it won't. Just bet unders on that guy. You'll be fine. And that worked.
Yep.
I very
I
rarely
can't
win
believe
bets.
how bad Burks, like when he was at Arkansas, he was fucking amazing. It's amazing. It's so wild. Like I find the NFL so fascinating. Like, and the drafting, like I don't know, like, you know what I mean, Rob? Like, I don't know how to explain this with the charts. And like, you could look like some guys just have this vibe of, I don't care if he was good here, even playing against SEC competition, you kind of know what's going on and other guys don't. Luck of the draw a lot of the time. Like, it's just, I find it fascinating. It's kind of like,
sure.
You're throwing a million stocks in there and you're kind of, you know what's there, but you listen to that little gazoo on your shoulder saying, don't do it, dum dum. And other teams just do it. Tennessee's one of those teams. Every prospect they've drafted has been amazing, and none of them have panned out to be good in the NFL. It's kind of shocking.
I think there's way more luck in sports than the average fan ever wants to admit about. Like when Burks came into the league, he looked actually really good. And then I think he got concussed. I'm pretty sure he got like 2 concussions in a very short succession. And then from there, it's just been nothing. I mean, he's dealt with that pretty much his whole career so far. He's been injured for most of these games. And now he's like a, 3rd, 4th string receiver. He can't really even work his way. He can't pass like Tyler Boyd and Nick Westbrook-Akine on the depth chart. So it's tough, but like there's like certainly luck involved in a lot of this stuff. I don't think there's some teams are like just so much superior than everyone else in drafting. I think just sometimes in a small sample size, you get a higher hit rate.
Well, also, it's hard to say like, hey, let's mimic what the Eagles do since they seem to hit on a lot of these draft picks. But if you constantly draft poorly, like obviously an organizational change needs to come into effect. But I think the one thing from the outside that we really do underrate is the psychology of some of these guys when you meet them. Because there is a certain mindset of like, it's not even how they are at the time. It's can you project out how being in the NFL, having a ton of money is going to affect people and their work ethic that I just think that we can't know because we don't talk about them. And I think that's such a big part of it that we just never see.
Huge. Like, remember, Rob, when we were working at the Score, you and Gabe, Antonio Brown, when he was hungry, drafted 6th round Central Michigan, guy was fucking unstoppable. Then all of a sudden you kind of lose your mind once you get there, right? Ron Artest was a different story. Like we talked to him. He's like, his first paycheck, he lived on ramen noodles. He just bought cases of ramen noodles. Like he did the same thing, like all the same things he had when he didn't have money. And some guys just go fucking bananas and like, fuck football. I'm just, you know what I mean? I'm set now. Like it's hard to measure somebody's will and heart and whatever, but if you can, congratulations.
Well,
great point, Pat.
But it's not even that though, because you can see it in any sort of workplace. Like even like when we worked at Fantasy, for example, there was like 2 or 3 people there that were very highly skilled and could have been really good and would still have careers right now, Rob, in the industry, but they were just fucking lazy and you knew it. And you knew they weren't going to go anywhere
100%.
because of it.
Good call.
100%. But like, I mean, listen, sports is the Eagles have had like insanely good draft years recently. Like Jalen Carter's year was great.
Last year.
They got Jordan Davis, Cam Stewart. But like, let's not forget, if you guys recall the Jalen Hurts draft, I think Jalen Hurts was 2nd round in that draft, which ended up being a great pick. You guys remember who they took first that year? Is probably the biggest miss in the history of football. Like they took Jalen Reagor over Justin Jefferson.
Rager.
Right.
That's right. TCU, Rager.
And that was like a massive epic fail, but they've made up for it with drafting. So like teams make mistakes all the time. It's just the Eagles have had like a higher hit rate. And for the Eagles, what they've been really focused on and what they've done really well, they've drafted really well on offensive line and defensive line. They haven't really had misses there. Like Landon Dickerson, Milton Williams, Cam Jurgens. Like these are guys that they're getting 2nd and 3rd round in the last few years that have been impactful players on their team. They were impactful players this year in the Super Bowl. Cooper DeJean was their
awesome
2nd round pick this year as well. Like, they have guys fall into their lap and they just sit there and they take these guys, character concerns, size, whatever. They find a way to do it. It reminds me of, I mean, this many years, 10, 15 years ago, this used to happen to the Steelers because Steelers were good every year. They used to pick in like the mid to late rounds and they'd always have some guy just fall into their lap and everyone would be like, how did this happen? Like, how is this guy still available here? And that they just reap the benefits.
What a great point. When you're playing with house money, you have no stress and you let things come to you. When you're a desperate team like the Tennessees of the world, and what are we going to do with this guy? The reports, you start getting cloudy and that. Rob's right. When you're just good, it's like, fuck, we're just going to take the best player on the board. He'll work in our system, done. And it seems that it's not that simple, but it's close, right, Rob? Like it's kind of like playing blackjack. If you're all fucked up and on tilt, you're done. Like you're done before it even started. You want to come back saying, I don't need the money. And when you don't need the money, that's when you get the money. It just seems to happen that way. Good teams find good players.
Tyreek Hill will be wearing what jersey next year, Cam?
Dolphins. I don't think he's going anywhere.
Dolphins. I'm with Cam. I mean, it's going to cost them more to cut him than it was to keep him on the roster.
Could they? Would they trade it? Well, let's say someone offered. Let's say your Cowboys, Rob, offered a 4th rounder for him, which they don't have because they just traded that for Jonathan Mingo.
Just what the Cowboys need. Fucking Tyreek Hill.
I would take it.
It's almost perfect.
If it was a third, if it was a 3rd or a 5th for Tyreek to bring him in, like I get that, like he's an absolute like maniac, but he would improve that offense.
Oh, of course he would. But like for the Dolphins to trade him, it's got to be a real lot. Like Tyreek Hill is Tyreek Hill. Like without him, that offense basically doesn't function. He is such a dynamic playmaker in the open field. So like they're not going to give him away for. I mean, it just completely ruins the offense. They're not going to give him away for like a cheap pick. Dude, they would have to get.
How many 100-yard games do you think that Tyreek had last year?
Well, I mean, Tua was injured for majority of the season.
Tua played like 12 games or something like that. It's not like he played 2.
Okay, but also different shift in offensive scheme last year. Like everything was short passing game, yards after catch. Like they weren't airing it out. I would.
Yeah, they're giving the ball to fucking Ingold. I remember John Smith at the year of his career. Like, hey, honest to God, remember that game versus the Colts, Rob? I want to fucking put a brick through. Hey, let's give it to Ingold. They got everybody else is hot. And anyway, Pat, to your point though, I think it works both ways. Tyreek Hill, if I'm a coach, I give him the ball like immediately, if not sooner, because the minute he's out of the game, this guy's checked out mentally, and it's a real problem. Yeah. It is a big problem. Like a lot of these receivers are divas. You feed them quick. I don't even care. I don't care if the play loses a couple yards off the top. You have to keep him engaged. God, I'd love to see Tyreek Hill go to the Cowboys, actually, just for the shit show of it. It'd be amazing.
Jonnu Smith, your guy, Cam, had more 100-yard games than Tyreek Hill did last year.
I picked Darnold Smith up on the fantasy wire in my fantasy draft.
He was great.
I pulled Pizzola. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Fuck, I was crushing it. But I had some other problems with my team. But yeah, Jonnu Smith was good. Very good. I like Jonnu Smith a lot, actually.
All right, 2 more questions. Number 8, Rob. Who will be the Steelers' starting quarterback?
I have this is a really, really challenging one. I'm actually going to say Justin Fields is going to be the Steelers.
Interesting. I continue. I like your response.
So they have talked all offseason about how they want to bring back one of their 2 quarterbacks, and they're not going to bring back both. Justin Fields is younger. He will come cheaper than Russ, even though he's younger. And they can use him as like a transitional quarterback to a mid-round pick or something like that.
But how do you put him back in mentally after what they did to him? Like, can he shake it off and say, instead of screw you, guy? I guess you can when you're worried about the future.
I don't think he can. Like, I don't think Justin Fields is going to be anything in this league. I mean, he cannot process the plays quickly enough. He can't get the ball out of his hand. He's a great athlete. And I'm not suggesting this is the best move for the Steelers, but I think he's going to end up being the Steelers' starting quarterback in week 1. I don't see them spending big dollars to bring in an Aaron Rodgers for like 1 year. But you
don't have to spend the money on Aaron Rodgers. You can spend you can do exactly what you just did with Russell Wilson, like 1 year, $1 million. He's getting paid by the Jets.
He is, but I don't think he's doing that. I don't think Rodgers is doing that personally. It could happen. Don't get me wrong. All the smoke from the Steelers org has been about bringing back one of their quarterbacks.
Why?
I can't tell you why. But who are the options? Like, who are they bringing in? Like,
they could draft a quarterback.
They're going to draft a quarterback.
Their defense is so damn good. Like, still.
Yeah. I could see them going in with a rookie quarterback. I could see them starting a rookie quarterback if depending on who they end up drafting this.
I agree with that.
I could see the Steelers going into the season with a rookie.
They picked 21st. That's a tough spot with a rookie quarterback. Who do you get?
I mean, I don't know who's going to go where this year. That's why I think it's going to still be someone like Fields passes the torch on eventually in like week 6 or 7 to whoever they draft, their developmental quarterback.
Last question. Cam, we'll start with you. What team that was good this year will go from good to bad, or at least bad versus expectations? Because I have an answer to this.
Sorry. What? So they're the team that was fantastic to shit?
Yeah, like maybe not like 2 wins, but a team that will be anticipated to do well next year, but will miss the playoffs, let's say.
God, I want to say Kansas City. That's just stupid.
The answer is the Washington Commanders.
Washington, the commies. You know what? It's kind of like Houston, Pat. You're right. Like, there's always that team. What do you think about? What about the Falcons shitting the bed next year?
How would that change from any other year?
They still won't. They were not. Yeah. They were literally. So they're there. Like, I'm just saying.
I agree. People will hype up the Falcons.
4 or 5 games.
This offseason will be all hype. It'll be like, well, if Kirk Cousins didn't play those games and it was Penix and whatever. But like, Atlanta had one of the healthiest years they went through the year with like no significant injuries for the most part.
Look at Carolina, Rob. They started to figure it out. They almost beat Philadelphia and Kansas City. Yeah. The Saints will find a way to grind whatever. Atlanta's going to be the biggest disappointment. They're fucking dead last in that division next year. I'll make that bet right now.
Yeah, I don't like Atlanta. I mean, the Vikings are the obvious answer, I think, just because they like exceeded expectations by so much this year, and they're going to have to deal with Detroit and Green Bay again next year, plus Chicago will probably be better. I think that's the obvious one, but like Atlanta to me is I think they had a lot of things go right for them this year and they still couldn't end up making the playoffs. I'm not sold on the Falcons. And unless they bring in like some sort of significant pass rusher in the offseason.
Penix is all right though. I have problem with their defense.
He could be. He could be great. For all, I mean, I don't think we know enough right now to make a judgment on him, other than like it ended up being a pretty good quarterback draft class. A lot of these guys fared well.
Let's just say he looked pretty good when he was out there compared to some quarterbacks that are just you watched him and go, wow, this guy does not get anything. Like Penix looked very comfortable.
But it's all relative to expectations, right? Like Atlanta is going to be a team that people will consider to be a playoff team, I think, going into next year because of the whole like Cousins isn't going to cost them games. And I'm not sure that they're going to be that.
I think it's Washington. Just Washington achieved too much this year. The expectations will be way too high. And you want to talk about a team that everyone wrote off last year because of a bad defensive line and a bad defense. Well, those things didn't really change. Jaden Daniels just covered them all up. And maybe Daniels is good enough to do that. But they're going to play a much harder schedule next year. They got a lot of cupcakes this time around that I could just see them winning like 8 games and missing the playoffs.
I got a sleeper quarterback for you guys. I know he throws a lot of picks, but I have a feeling he could be a good pro. And I'm going to listen. It's the kid from Syracuse, Kyle McCord. That's my under. Like you can get him deep in the draft. That's a guy I would take a flyer on. That's just my opinion.
Okay.
I don't know where that came from. Sorry. What are we talking about? See, Rob, like my brain is just, you're right. Like there's so many wires that are cut. We're talking about the Falcons. No, Pat, you were talking about a quarterback because you're not going to get Jackson.
Commanders.
Commanders. Yes. We were talking about also quarterbacks going like Jackson Dart, Shedeur Sanders, and Cam Ward are going in the first round. That's fact, right? So I'm saying you can get this guy like deep, and it's worth a team like Tennessee or one of these fuckers like taking a shot. That's
Steelers. There's the Steelers starting.
The Steelers.
Yeah.
You know what? I don't know. I think Wade, they're rolling out Russell Wilson and Fields. Like
I feel like the Steelers are going to. It might be mid-round, but the Steelers are going to draft a quarterback this year.
Yes, they will.
I'd be surprised if they don't. Like they need to have.
What about my team? Because he got Jeter. Obviously, Sam Howell hasn't played enough to even know if he's a significant backup. The guy was good in college, but we don't know anything about him either. We've never seen him in real.
We know that he cannot play behind an offensive line that doesn't give him 10 seconds of protection.
Yeah. Sam Howell's never, I mean, he loves to hold the ball.
Oh, yeah.
He loves to take sacks. Yeah. I mean, listen, you can develop quarterbacks and work with them through that type of stuff. I think he's gifted. I think he's got a great arm, Howell. He just takes too many negative plays.
In the NFL, you got to be quick. You got to get that ball at 2.3. Yeah, he's got a problem.
Did Seattle, they fired their OC. Did they sign
Yes, they did.
OC?
No, they got rid of Grubb, the guy from the University of Washington.
No,
right?
they signed Clint Kubiak.
Oh, yeah, Clint Kubiak. That's good. Yes, thank you, Pat. That's true. That's a good signing. He was good. I like Clint Kubiak.
He was good for 2 weeks. He was real hot for 2 weeks at the beginning of last year.
Give me 4 weeks. Can we get more than 2? You're right, Pat. When the Saints came out of the gate, I'm like, Clint Kubiak is the biggest genius. But then again, in Kubiak's defense, on the defense team here, look what happened with their team.
Oh, yeah.
As the injuries progressed, right? That's not all on Kubiak. He had a lot of meatballs.
Okay, 2 quick things. Canada, USA, who you got?
Canada 4-2 final. Rob, you're on the clock.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't want to pick against my country. I don't love Canada in the game just because Binnington to me scares the death out of me, but
yeah, I know.
I'll go Canada 3-2.
Canada 14-0.
Yeah.
You know, Gamer did the show last night. USA 3-0, 22-1. Hey, it's a pretty good price.
Actually,
I think we'll get a goal.
Well, the flippening is happening. Like where it's like in the USA is going to be better than Canada at hockey.
We are. Hey, newsflash. They fucking kill us in juniors all the time. Whenever they're cut, look at the mass of their. Here's another thing about Canada. We love Canada. We're very good at what we do with hockey. But Finland is a country of 5 fucking million people, and they're on par. So everybody with hockey, relax. We have some of the best players in the world, but it's not our game. It's a world game. We're very good at hockey, but so are other people. That's my fucking statement. Okay. Am I right, Rob?
I hadn't watched a full hockey game since the Bruins Canucks Stanley Cup final, the Riot games.
I was there. Yes, you got to be kidding me.
So that's what 16 years or something like that.
So I was working at the Score.
I was doing Journey to the Cup, working at the Score, getting fucking bit by iguanas on the street and shit. Holy God, that's a long time.
Was it 2011? Was it 2011? 2012?
Yeah, it's 14. Yeah, I think it was 2000. Was it 2011, Rob? 2011, 14 years.
I'm not good with year, but I was at the Score, so it's between like 2009 and 2012, basically, somewhere in that.
Yeah.
So let's call it 14 years ago. So it's been 14 years since I watched a full NHL game, and this wasn't an NHL game.
Wow.
I guess it kind of is. But the one thing I know is just like the taking away, like just the amount of the Americans blocking every single shot and creating no lanes to the net was very impressive. And Canada didn't know what to do.
Yeah, I mean,
sure. You go.
The Americans play a very good brand of hockey now. I mean, it's they brought all of their great skill players, which Canada didn't necessarily do. They've taught guys like Austin Matthews are playing really solid defensive games in like the third.
Guy's a Selke candidate, Rob. Have you seen this guy's defense recently? Yeah. Oh my God, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, but they went with the mentality of let's take everyone that's good and we're going to figure it out. And they did. I mean, good players just figured it out. Whereas Canada went more of the role players type. This guy's good at Seth Jarvis, a great penalty killer. Let's put him on the roster. Let's do this. Let's do that. And sometimes that doesn't necessarily work. But I like the tournament. I think it's great. As a Canadian, it's always bothered me how seriously Canadians take hockey. I know it's a point of pride. I get it, but it's hockey. Yeah, it's your life's, you lose, life is going to go on. The Americans are going to make fun of you for a couple days, and we're going to, people have forgotten that Canada won the 4x100 relay at the Olympics. Notoriously American dominated sport. And the talk this week is Americans are coming for your sport. It's well, guess what? Canada just beat Americans at what they were historically very good at recently. No one cares anymore.
Look at Canada in basketball, SGA, other guys are more things. Yeah, the world evolves, right? I get it. It is personal pride.
It's sports.
It is. But you know what I'd like to? The government to fucking stay out of hockey and shit. Guys coming, they booed the national anthem. Well, you know what? It's because of tariffs. Can we separate politics and sport and all this other bullshit? Right? No, Rob, that's where we agree. It's shut the fuck up. Just enjoy the game. Let's hope Canada gets it done. Good for us. But the fact that our game and whatever, countries are eventually going to fuck. I'm watching women's hockey with China. They used to lose 16-0. Now 3-1. Where I'm telling you, these things, look at Germany, all these other countries that couldn't play. They're there now. They're there.
Yeah. It's weirdly a lot like basketball on an international stage. It's the rest of the world kind of caught up that the Americans don't just purely It's not like in the 92 Olympics when they're winning every game by 80 points anymore.
Yeah, exactly. It happens. I mean, listen, you grow the game globally and other countries are going to pick up.
Yes.
But the U.S. has done a great job with their development. They have the best goalie development in the world.
True.
You look at the amount of goalies that they're breeding there. The players are way better. It was going to happen. It's eventually going to happen. Be a realist. Look at our Canada's population relative to the U.S. Enough people play hockey at a high level over time. It's going to flip. And, Canadians need to deal with it. Just hockey isn't life. Life is life. If Canada loses,
we're lacrosse. Maybe we should fucking put more money into the lacrosse program. That is our national sport.
But Canada put more money into soccer, and then they got better at soccer, and they were beating the U.S. in like the Gold Cup and stuff. Like, it happens, but it's sports. It's not life. That's like, people go nuts for this shit.
See that story already? The fucking with the soccer debt and all the other shit that even might be gone before it even started. What a shit show! Like, how we had all like, honest to God, what is happening here? But what was I going to say? I love you guys. It's been nice to see you again. It's been a while.
Let's say we'll keep running these out once every 2 weeks, once every 3 weeks. Catch up, talk some NFL, talk about whatever. I do want to see one thing. I want to see Brad Marchand play 60 minutes against the U.S. Just pester the shit out of them. But he did not play enough in the first game, and when you saw him out there, he was the only person doing anything.
But he's not good, Pat. That's the problem.
Hey, listen.
They picked him as like one of the first 7 players of the team.
As they should. They kept playing some Italian-Canadian dude, and he fucking sucked. Get that guy off.
I mean,
watch that guy
if you want to bring like a Brad Marchand play, just bring Tom Wilson. Tom Wilson's actually good. He's still a good play.
It's a shame. The Washington Capitals are the President's Cup team right now, and not one Capitals in this fucking tournament. Like, it's like, what?
This is the tournament to bring...
insulting.
that type of play. You can't bring Wilson at the Olympics where he's going to get 4 penalties a game on IIHF
you
rules.
You bring in Tom Wilson, you split Kachuk's head in, and then you come after the other Chuck and he'll split his head in too. The guy's a fucking psychopath. By the way, I'm an old school gorilla. I love fighting. That was awesome at the start. That 9 seconds was like the old days, Pat, when we used to play hockey and you hated a guy on another team, made a comment about your mom or something like that. It's fucking on. Boom, before it even starts. I love that shit.
I loved it too, but I think it's the same thing as this tournament. If you start seeing too much of any of this stuff, then it loses all of its appeal.
You're right. Organically is the key. And it was there was a lot of pent up anger. It was awesome.
It's the infrequency at which it happens that makes it exciting. Everyone's like, this is so fucking cool because we never see this. But the minute it happens like every Canada-US game, it just loses its luster at some point.
And there's something with hockey versus some of the other sports that the international game is the best version of like what people actually want to see, even more than the Stanley Cup, more than the playoffs, more than the NHL. I don't feel that exists in any other sport. Because, obviously winning the Stanley Cup is huge, but there is a lot of national pride on the line with hockey amongst so many different nations. Like, with the World Baseball Classic, who really cares outside of, like, Japan and Korea? Like, the Americans don't care.
The South American countries do, but I'm just going to say one thing. The tournament's been better because it's the NHL run. We go to double IHF, these fucking turkeys, I could touch Rob's little glasses. Penalty. It's better because they're actually playing.
They're playing NHL rules.
Yes, exactly.
But you know what? Like,
turkey
if Major League Baseball shut down mid-season and did like a 4 Nations Classic, USA, Dominican, Japan,
sure,
I'd fucking watch.
But they don't do that. They put it in some spring training part of the season where no one's into baseball yet.
Agreed.
And it feels like it's just a money grab.
100%. The way that listen, I'm watching Italy play in the World Baseball Classic. All these guys are American.
You could
Are you saying Mike Piazza's not from Sicily, Rob?
That's what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, you and Koliakovo, Pizzola.
Be like me playing for Italy.
Fucking Italy. Yeah. Who's your team? Bologna. Let's go.
All right, everyone sub to Mayo Media Network, Pat Mayo Experience, podcast, Apple, Spotify. You leave a comment on who's going to win the Super Bowl next year. You get in that draw for fantasynational.com.
Carolina.
For a year. Okay. Not Tennessee.
Joke. Sorry, Pat, continue. That was a bad joke.
Again, code Mayo at Underdog will get you up to $1,000 of bonus funds. You can use those bonus funds to draft the major season best ball drafts and the rest of the PGA season best ball drafts, which start at the Masters. Then you'll have all of your other money left over to play the pick'em game. So code Mayo right now, get that huge deposit. All right, smash a like on the way out, and we'll see you next time.
Mayo Experience! Experience!